Dear Mr. Blueberry by Simon James. We were given permission to read this story together by the publisher, Simon & Schuster. This book is about a girl named Emily who writes letters to her teacher, Mr. Blueberry. When you write a letter, you always start it the same way. You write the word dear, and then you put the person's name that you're talking to. So in Emily's case, it says, Dear Mr. Blueberry, because that's who she's talking to, her teacher, Mr. Blueberry. At the end, it also says, Love, Emily, because you have to say goodbye by putting your name at the end. Let's start our story. Dear Mr. Blueberry, I love whales very much, and I think I saw one in my pond today. Please send me some information on whales, as I think he might be hurt. Love, Emily. Here she is the next day reading her letter from her teacher.
Dear Emily, here are some details about whales. I don't think you'll find it was a whale you saw because whales don't live in ponds but in salt water. Yours sincerely, your teacher, Mr. Blueberry.
Now Emily has to write him back. Dear Mr. Blueberry, I am now putting salt into the pond every day before breakfast. And last night, I saw my whale smile. I think he's feeling better. Do you think he might be lost? Love, Emily.
Dear Emily, please don't put any more salt into the pond. I'm sure your parents won't be pleased. I'm afraid there can't be a whale in your pond because whales don't get lost. They always know where they are in the ocean. Yours sincerely, Mr. Blueberry.
Dear Mr. Blueberry, tonight I am very happy because I saw my whale jump up and spurt lots of water. He looked blue. Does this mean he might be a blue whale? Love, Emily. P.S. What can I feed him with?
Dear Emily, blue whales are blue and they eat tiny shrimp-like creatures that live in the sea. However, I must tell you that a blue whale is much too big to live in your pond. Yours sincerely, Mr. Blueberry. P.S. Perhaps it is a blue goldfish?
And there she is researching about goldfish. That's what that book is about. Trying to figure out if it's a whale or just a goldfish. What do you think? Dear Mr. Blueberry, last night I read your letter to my whale. Afterward, he let me stroke his head. It was very exciting. I secretly took him some crunched up cornflakes and breadcrumbs. This morning, I looked in the pond, and they were all gone. I think I shall call him Arthur. What do you think? Love, Emily.
Dear Emily, I must point out to you quite forcibly now that in no way could a whale live in your pond. You may not know that whales are migratory, which means they travel great distances each day. I am sorry to disappoint you. Yours sincerely, Mr. Blueberry.
Dear Mr. Blueberry, tonight I'm a little sad. Arthur has gone. I think your letter made sense to him, and he has decided to be migratory again. Love, Emily.
Dear Emily, please don't be too sad. It really was impossible for a whale to live in your pond. Perhaps Perhaps when you are older, you would like to sail the ocean, studying and protecting whales. Yours sincerely, Mr. Blueberry.
Dear Mr. Blueberry, it has been the happiest day. I went to the beach, and you'll never guess, but I saw Arthur. I called to him, and he smiled. I knew it was Arthur because he let me stroke his head. I gave him some of my sandwich. And then we said goodbye. I shouted that I loved him very much, and I hope you don't mind. I said you loved him too. Love, Emily and Arthur. The end.
Do you think that Emily really had a whale in the pond in her yard? Let's write a letter about it to our teacher. So remember, a letter always starts with this word dear. D-E-A-R. Here are the names of our kindergarten teachers. You can choose your teacher: Mrs. Hempel, Miss Collins, Mrs. Wambachano, or even Miss Pearsall. That's me. You can choose whichever one you want to write to. And that name will go right next to your word dear. So Miss Pearsall is going to write, Dear Miss Collins. Now we're going to write about whether or not we think Emily had a whale in her pond. So you can write whatever you would like in this part because this is your letter. Miss Pearsall thinks, I'm going to write, I think, so I know my sight word, I, and I started on a new line. And I want to say think, so th is my digraph. TH, think, thing, think. I think Emily, that's a name I know from the book, Emily, was using, I don't think I have enough space, so I'm going to go to my next line, using another digraph, using, okay, her, we know that word, right? Her. I think Emily was using her, I want to say imagination. Oh boy, that's a big word. Can you help me sound that one out, friends? Imagination. That's right, an I. What letter is that? Oh, an A. Thank you. Okay. I think that the J makes the J sound, so that's a good guess. Imagine a. Okay, well, that says its name. Imagination. We know SH says our sh digraph. Imagination. Imagination. I think Emily was using her imagination. What else can I say about this? Sometimes it's nice to put a period at the end of the sentence, right? Or even an exclamation point, right? Because that means we're excited about it. So I think Emily was using her imagination, but I think I want to add a little bit more detail to this. So something that I could write would be, there was not a whale. Okay, so again, there was, it's a sight word, not a, and now we sound out the word whale. What letter is that? Thank you. Whale. At her, what do you think I'm going to say? There was not a whale at her house. You could say house, so house, period, I'm going to put. Okay, so dear Miss Collins, I think Emily was using her imagination. There was not a whale at her house. Remember, you're just doing your best to sound out all of those sounds that you hear in the word. It doesn't have to be perfect. You just have to get your writing down. That's how we practice and how we get better. I think Miss Pearsall did a pretty good job with your help. So let's finish up our letter now. So remember, we put something to the other person at the beginning, dear Miss Collins, because that's who I'm writing to. But now I have to sign it at the end. So I'm going to write love. And then I'm going to write my name. So here you would write your name, Miss Pearsall. There. And if you have extra space on your page, you can even draw an illustration to go along with that, a picture. All right, so let's take one more minute to read Miss Pearsall's message together before you go and work on writing your own. Dear Miss Collins, I think Emily was using her imagination, and that's an exclamation point. There was not a whale at her house. Love, Miss Pearsall. Perfect. All right. And I know that your teacher would love to see the letter that you wrote them. So why don't you go ahead and write them a letter about whether or not Emily had a whale in her yard in this book. And then you can have a grown-up take a picture of what you wrote and send it to the teacher that you wrote it to so they can see your letter. And maybe they'll even write a letter back to you. Wouldn't that be cool? Just like Emily and Mr. Blueberry. All right, friends. Happy writing.